15 Creepiest pics accidentally captured on trail cameras. The equipment being used in game hunting is getting more and more sophisticated. It seems that every new season there are dozens of innovative new gadgets for outdoorsmen to add to their arsenal. This constant invention of new hunting tools is great if you're a hunter, but you have to admit, it's got to be a bit of an inconvenience if you're an animal. One of the most popular pieces of hunting equipment introduced over the past couple of years is the trail camera. A trail camera, for those who are unfamiliar with the device, is a sturdy and weatherproof camera designed for unmanned use in the wilderness. Most game hunters will use a trail camera, or a collection of trail cameras, to keep watch of a location and gain a better idea of which animals frequent it and at what time of the day. Because most hunters like to establish the pattern of an animal before attempting to track it down, trail cameras are generally left to film for extended periods of time. For the most part, a hunter's trail camera will return little but empty space and the occasional sighting of the creature of the camera owner's desires. Sometimes, however, the camera will capture a lot more than the hunter bargained for. Case in point, the following pictures. Here are 15 of the creepiest photos accidentally captured on trail cameras. 15. Bigfoot's evening stroll. There are literally hundreds of thousands of supposed Bigfoot sightings every year in the United States of America alone. However, a shockingly low percentage of them has been shot on trail cameras. Moreover, and probably less shocking, only very few Bigfoot trail camera pictures are in any way credible. This is one of them. In the upper right of this image, we can just about make out what looks to be a hairy bipedal creature leaving the clearing in which the trail camera is erected and entering the dense collection of branches and leaves. Giving credibility to this picture as a legitimate Bigfoot sighting is the reaction of the deer in the foreground. While the animal had once been peacefully inspecting the trail camera, it is clearly unsettled by the presence of the abnormally large beast and is keeping a close eye on it in order to protect against a sneak attack. 14. The laughing alien. Most animals are inquisitive by nature, which is why the vast majority of trail camera pictures feature a super close-up of a deer or two inspecting the camera. This picture is no different. In it, we see a curious deer looking directly into the lens of the camera in an attempt to figure out just what the device is and just where it came from. However, the deer seems to be so captivated by the camera that he fails to notice the mysterious creature just a few feet behind him. The mysterious creature in question is believed by many ufologists to be an extraterrestrial. Hairless and naked, the unidentified being looks to be sitting cross-legged with his mouth agape, which has led some people to suggest that he is laughing. If the alien creature is indeed amused by the antics of the bewildered deer, I suppose the conclusion can be drawn that extraterrestrials aren't too different from the human race after all. 13. The Burlington Boogeyman. Nothing beats a good urban legend, and the Burlington Boogeyman may just be one of the greatest urban legends of all. The story of the Burlington Boogeyman has been passed down among Burlington natives for generations. The legend claims that the malevolent ghost of a Native American chief haunts the forests of Burlington, Pennsylvania. It is said that the ghost's intention is to avenge his fallen tribe. Those who have encountered the spirit have described it as a kind of transparent, floating skeleton, and that's just what we see in this picture. Regardless on if you believe in ghosts or not, we wouldn't blame you if that photo ended up costing you a few hours of sleep tonight. 12. Beat the band. If a marching band plays a concert in the forest and there's nobody around to hear it, does it still make a sound? Yes, providing the trail camera recording it has audio capturing capabilities. This picture is certainly one of the more odd images captured by trail cameras over the years. In it, we see a woman gripping tightly to a cello and bow, with no carrying case in sight. She seems to be surprised by the presence of the trail camera, which would go to suggest that she had visited this particular clearing a number of times prior to the device being installed. Exactly why this woman and the male accomplice behind her were visiting the forest so late at night is difficult to establish, but some have suggested that they were there to take part in some sort of ritual, which doesn't seem all that unlikely. 11. Fly, my pretty. This is one of those pictures that you need to look at a couple of times if you are to have any chance of figuring out what is going on in it. Upon first glance, it seems to be a picture of a deer, or something deer-shaped, running away from a predator. Not all that weird, right? Well, a second glance at the predator in question reveals that it is like no known creature in the world today. Whatever the mysterious animal is, it seems to have the body of a monkey, an animal that is most definitely not native to the forests of the United States. Just below the creature's demon-esque head, resting atop its shoulder blades is what looks to be a pair of wings, so I guess the fiction classic The Wizard of Oz may not be quite as fictional as we thought. 10. The face in the trees. I actually had to look long and hard at this picture before I figured out why so many people have been so creeped out by it, and I'm going to assume you did too. This is owing to the fact that when you look at this picture your eyes are immediately drawn to the tree which stands in the center, illuminated by the light of the trail camera. However, there is nothing unusual going on with that tree. The action is going on in the top left corner of the picture, where a disembodied face seems to have formed in the branches of another tree. Whether the face belongs to a malevolent spirit or not is up for debate, but this image seems to play into the ancient belief that trees are inhabited by the souls of not quite departed humans. 9. Alien abduction. Since the mid-20th century, humans the world over have been reporting encounters with visitors from another planet, with many claiming to have been abducted by extraterrestrial beings and subjected to embarrassing, oftentimes cruel experiments. Alien abductions have apparently become so widespread that many supposed abductees have set up support groups for themselves and their fellow victims of intergalactic kidnapping to discuss their experiences. If this picture is any indication, aliens aren't just interested in examining us humans. Apparently, they're pretty intrigued by our animals too, which makes sense because our animals are adorable. Here, we see a deer engulfed by a bright, yellowish beam coming from the sky above, a far more concentrated light than that of the moon. Ufologists claim this image depicts an alien abduction in action, and it's pretty difficult to argue with them. 8. Little girl lost. There's just something about children that is absolutely terrifying, regardless of where you encounter them. I get uncomfortable passing a little girl with her mother in a shopping mall, so you can imagine how much it would creep me out to encounter a lone child wandering through a forest late at night. This picture seems to show one child doing that. The little girl, whose face is as pale as it is menacing, points directly towards the trail camera, almost as though she is trying to make the viewer as uncomfortable as possible. Behind the potential ghost girl stands a wolf, a predatory animal that would generally take full advantage of finding a child alone and seemingly defenseless. In this image, however, the wolf appears to be intimidated by the little girl, if not downright terrified of her, which would suggest that she is not your typical child. 7. I Bring You Love. This picture was taken by a landowner in North Carolina who had reason to believe kids and teenagers in the area were trespassing on his property. When reporting his problems to the police, the landowner complained of seeing bright lights coming from inside a cluster of trees on the land, as well as hearing loud, yet difficult to describe noises. Fed up of local authorities doing nothing, the landowner decided to take matters into his own hands and set up a trail camera to catch the trespassers in the act. That's how he ended up with this possibly miraculous image. Here, we see a glowing figure standing in a clearing, with the light the property owner had previously complained about literally pouring from its body. Many have speculated that the mysterious being, who looks not unlike Mr. Burns after his longevity treatment, may be an alien, or if you're the religious type, possibly even an angel. 6. He's behind you. This picture, taken by a Bushnell trail camera towards the end of 2010, seems innocent enough upon first glance. In the foreground of the image, we see a smiling couple, perhaps the owners of the camera or maybe just a husband and wife who stumbled upon the device while out for an evening stroll. In the background, however, lurks something far more disturbing. In the far right of the image, crouched down among the bare trees of the winter forest, we see an unknown creature stalking the loved-up duo, who seem to be totally unaware of its presence. It's difficult to determine exactly what we are looking at, but with its glowing eyes, smooth skin, and slender frame, the creature doesn't look like anything humanity is familiar with. 5. Zombie Nation. It's difficult to find somebody who believes in zombies. Even the most staunch believers of aliens, Bigfoot, and ghosts find zombies to be a bit of a tall tale. However, this picture, captured by a hunter's trail camera in the winter of 2012, may make suspending your disbelief a whole lot easier. Although it isn't the clearest footage in the world, this picture seems to show a decrepit man stumbling through the woods alone late at night. Clad in only a pair of trousers, the unnamed man seems to have an open wound on the left side of his chest. This, combined with his eerie glowing eyes, has made many supernatural enthusiasts wonder if this picture is evidence of the dead reanimating and walking among the living. 4. Death on camera. Although the idea of death as a semi-living individual traveling around the world to collect the souls of the soon-to-be deceased is undeniably fascinating and has given us some great art over the centuries, I don't think anybody actually believes in the Grim Reaper. I certainly don't, anyway. Nor do I believe that this picture can be interpreted as being proof of the Grim Reaper's existence. This is very obviously a picture of a human being decked out in a black robe and an unconvincing white mask. That being said, it is undeniably creepy. Given that trail cameras are generally difficult to spot unless you are standing right in front of it, we can assume that whoever this unnamed individual is was wandering around the forest dressed as the Grim Reaper, totally unaware that there was a camera nearby. His original intention almost certainly was not to frighten the camera operator, but it may well have been to intimidate nature walkers and children playing in the woods. 3. The Goon. When people think of creepy pictures inadvertently snapped by aspiring photographers, they tend to imagine images of semi-transparent ghost children summarily standing behind a smiling group of living friends. However, people don't have to be dead to be scary, as this picture proves, and then some. This image, snapped by the trail camera of a hunter who wished to keep tabs on animals in the forests near his home, shows a freakishly tall masked man taking a carefree stroll with a machete in tow. It's unclear exactly why the man, who appears to be unaware of the camera's presence, was in the forest on the night this picture was taken, but his decision to hide his face would suggest that his reasons were far from innocent. 2. Clowning around. Remember when those supposed killer clowns started going around scaring everybody in the run-up to Halloween in 2016? Things became so bad that a lot of people were afraid to leave the house, with some parents even banning their children from going trick-or-treating for fear they would run into a not-so-funny clown. Well, apparently the plague of killer clowns was a problem long before the fall of 2016. The timestamp on this image tells us that it was taken early on the morning of August 30, 2009, a full 7 years before killer clowns began terrorizing neighborhoods around the world. Despite this, the picture clearly shows a grown man decked out in a colorful clown costume with a menacing skull-esque mask upon his face. 1. A dying deer. While most hunters probably like to think of themselves as the #1 threat to the existence of wildlife, there are a number of other problems animals have to deal with in the wild. In any area where animals coexist in large quantities, disease is a part of day-to-day life, with a fatal illness being a matter of when and not if for many animals. This hunter's trail camera managed to capture a rather sickly deer as the animal wandered through its home forest, vulnerable and frail, looking as though it were ready to collapse from starvation or exhaustion at any moment. Whatever undetermined disease the unfortunate deer in this image is suffering from has left it covered in sores and boils, a cluster of which covers its eyes and makes it almost impossible for the animal to see where it's going.